Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and the plot thickens. I thought we were done, but we're just getting started, baby, because Oscars producer Will Packer has just spoken to Good Morning America. Now, I watched the full interview. We're going to watch it today during our full live show, so if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, will you? Hit the bell for all alerts so you get notified when we got updates here. Smash the like button and leave a comment down below on your thoughts in this video to help the engagement. We'll be live later. I'll put an iCard up here at some point for that live feed if you want to watch the full Good Morning America interview. But I wanted to single out this portion because Chris Rock is already calling Will Packer a liar. Sources close to Chris say this isn't true. Oscars producer says Chris didn't want Will Smith booted. But yeah, the way I watched this interview, it really sure does seem like Will, whether he intended to or not, is kind of throwing Chris Rock under the bus, blaming him for not ejecting Will. It's a really weird interview. He does, look, to his credit, he compliments Chris throughout and even says he's a hero. He saves the Oscars. But I want you to hear this portion.
Right.
Wow. What was the conversation behind the scenes?
It happened to be right before the Best Actor Award. Shayla told me...
That's another fellow producer, and they're talking about why did you let him stay is really what we're talking about here.
That they were about to physically remove Will Smith. And I had not been a part of those conversations. And so I immediately went to the Academy leadership that was on site, and I said, Chris Rock doesn't want that. I said, Rock has made it clear that he does not want to make a bad situation worse. That was Chris's energy. His tone was not retaliatory. His tone was not aggressive and angry. And so...
That was Chris's energy. Why are you speaking for Chris right now? I'm just floored.
I was advocating what Rock wanted in that time, which was not to physically remove Will Smith at that time, because as it has now been explained to me, that was the only option at that point. It has been explained to me that there was a conversation that I was not a part of to ask him to voluntarily leave.
Will Smith later said on Instagram, I would like to publicly Chris, and I was wrong, embarrassed, and indicative. I want to...
With Will Smith.
Will Smith reached out to me the next morning and said, and he apologized. And he said, you know, this should have been a gigantic moment for you. And he expressed his embarrassment, and that was the extent of it.
Look, there's a lot more to this interview, and again, it's like a super long interview. We'll watch it today live. Again, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe. You'll get notified. I'll put it at the end of this video. But it's really telling to me because it's summing up the other portions. Will Packer, I'll call him Packer so we're not confused by the Wills. Packer says that, you know, he didn't want to file a police report. At a moment, LAPD was there and asked Chris. They told him what the charges were, told him that they could have him removed and arrested there on the spot. And Chris said, "No, I don't want to do that. I just want to get out of here." Those are Packer's own words earlier in the interview. And so later when you hear this portion where Will's sort of assuming and speaking on behalf of Chris based off of his energy, it's really weird. He absolutely is speaking on behalf of Chris in a way that I feel like doesn't sound fair. And again, it's pushing blame as to Will. Look, to me, as I break down all the stories of what we're hearing, it sounds like the Academy, in fact, was attempting to remove him. I imagine there were reps of Will Smith listening and wanting to be in those conversations to try to knock them away and keep Will there. I'm sure Will's reps were listening, and therefore someone in the Academy like, look, can you tell Will we want him to go? And they just didn't. And the reps could be definitely, the enablers could definitely be part of the problem here. Whereas no one actually went to Will directly and said, hey man, we'd like you to, we can't have you here now. What you just did was an embarrassment. Everyone's upset. Chris was upset. He's not going to file charges, but I think it would be best, unfortunately, if you step away. Honestly, that's what should have happened. That's what they should have done. But no, look, Will Packer, you wanted ratings. You were sitting there. No, you didn't know if it was real. He says, we'll go through that part of the interview as well. And you know he's about to win. So of course you wanted to sit him there. But again, the reason I wanted to clip this out and talk about this specifically, because I think this interview and portions of it are going to go out in the media for you to digest, but take this as you will, because Chris Rock's sources are saying that's a lie. Will Packer appeared on GMA Friday and gave his blow-by-blow of the evening. He said after it, he talked to Chris and said the LAPD was present and wanted to know if Chris wanted Will arrested. But Chris made it clear he did not. No one is disputing that. That's always sort of been what's said. But Will's using this energy of, no, I don't want any of that. I don't want to make a big deal. Personally, regarding the LAPD, Will's then, Packer, the producer of the Oscars, is sort of now assuming that meant Chris Rock doesn't want Will to be ejected at all. And that's where I think he just completely put his foot in his mouth, because no, dude, you spoke up on behalf of Chris without asking Chris, what do you want? Do you want us to remove him? You should have asked. It was really a question about it. But I guess according to Will Packer, he was in the moment. He's producing a show. I will give him that. It's a lot to digest it all. And, the option on the table at the time he's saying is, well, the LAPD can remove him. And he's not thinking about, well, should we remove him? When he clearly should have, when the Academy's having those conversations. Here's what's in dispute. Packer said it was Chris who said he did not want Will removed from the Dolby Theater. Sources connected to Chris tell TMZ that was never said. As one source put it, Chris told Packer, I'm not pressing charges. All I want to do is leave. He was never asked if he wanted Will removed. This is the Academy covering itself. Academy source tells TMZ Will Packer is not speaking on behalf of the Academy. Packer's statement more than intimates that it was Chris's decision to keep Will in the theater, and our sources simply call that a lie. Yeah, I gotta be honest, that's the vibe I got from this interview as well, that he's sort of putting the blame on Chris, while he then puts the blame on Chris. And then he goes on and talks about how the show couldn't have gone on without Chris's professionalism. But then doesn't think somehow thinks it's a good idea to go out there and be like, yeah, well, Chris, I spoke on behalf of Chris, because Chris said when he never said it. Dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? It makes no sense. This mess only keeps getting messier. Will Packer, I think, also had to do this interview because his name started going out there. So he's a film producer. This was his first big Oscars. And honestly, I don't think he did a terrible job as Oscars go. Take away this moment, this would not have been the worst year of the Oscars. They definitely brought back some energy, and there were some fun moments. There were touching moments. GMA talks about that as well. But I think right now he spoke up before he should have. Should let everyone out, let all the chips lay, speak behind the scenes, let it die down. Now Will Packer has put himself more in the middle of the crossfire when everything's trying to calm, and clearly Chris Rock's team's not going to be happy hearing Will Packer attempting to intentionally or unintentionally throw him under the bus by saying, well, Chris didn't want Will booted. Because it doesn't sound like Chris... It sounds like Chris would have been okay with him booting it. Sounds like Chris would have been like, yeah, you can boot him from the show, but I don't want to press charges. Those are two completely different things. So, again, more was said in the interview. We'll break down the full interview later today live. Join us, as we always are, live every day, weekdays, rather. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts. And if you miss our lives and you want to catch our full replays, you can really support by hitting join. Appreciate you guys so much for watching here on Popcorn Planet. Got lots more to talk about here on the channel.